anybody here for the first time that's never been here before? Let us know you're here. Just unmute and let us know you're here. Anybody? No newbies?
I don't see anybody waving.
Okay.
I try to look.
Okay. All right, then let's move along.
Okay, well, hello and welcome to Lulu's Way, Healthy Food, Healthy Life. My name is Nicole and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be your co-host. To help keep our meeting focused and free from distractions, please stay muted unless you're speaking, and keep your video turned off if you're doing anything other than sitting and participating. Here in this community, we come together to support, encourage, and inspire one another, celebrating the benefits of good nutrition, weight loss, wellness, and the joy that comes from choosing to serve yourself well. We're not medical or nutrition professionals. We're simply here to share experiences and promote a healthy lifestyle. If you receive any advice or suggestions tonight, especially if you have health challenges, it's always best to check with your healthcare provider first. Individuals in this group may have different ideas on how to eat healthy. Figure out what works best for you and do it your way. Our meetings rotate through a variety of topics that focus on the needs and interests of our members, including food prep, motivation, meal ideas, travel, socializing, challenges, non-scale victories, maintenance, and general Q&A. We take one topic at a time, explore it fully, then pick up where we left off the following week. We'd love for everyone to participate tonight. Please raise your hand using the toolbar icon, and I'll invite each person to share in the order that they appear in the participants section. Please be mindful of the length of your share to allow everyone an opportunity to participate. If there's extra time at the end, please feel free to raise your hand and share again. Our meeting ends promptly at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all for being here, for sharing, and for choosing your health and yourself a priority. With that being said, tonight's topic is challenges.
Challenges. Okay. Well, before we move on, I just want to mention one thing. I am really noticing somebody's weight loss, and that's Bridget. I'm really noticing your face. I mean, all I see is your face, right? All we see is each other's face and shoulders. But it's just,
Thank you.
I noticed it last week, and I didn't get a chance to say it. And then I just noticed it again. And I was like, yeah, I can just really see your the weight loss in your face.
I finally got my hair cut short again, too, so that's my non-scale victory for the week.
There you go.
Because I was hiding things, you know?
Yeah. I just really noticed you. Yeah, I noticed you're on track. I can tell.
I feel, I've got 3 more pounds to go before I am going to be in that zone.
Wow. And
so,
how much have you lost?
Ready for you, Nicole. Your group, 65.
Wow.
Yeah, just about 65, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really noticing it. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so challenges. You know, I don't have a heck of a lot of challenges staying on this plan because I just love it and I want it. I've ran into enough problems along the way that I have the experience to know kind of what to do next. But I did run into something yesterday. So, we stayed in the driveway of a friend that lives in Lake Havasu. So we were in her driveway. At 9 o'clock, I was scheduled to do a podcast. So somebody that has a podcast asked me to speak on their podcast. So that was at 9 o'clock. So I had kind of a tight schedule. I had that at 9 o'clock, and then I had a call I had to take at 11:30, and a call I had to take at 12:30. And those 2 calls were from a couple of gals that I talked to overseas. So I thought, okay, I don't have protein, but I have enough veggies for the next 2 meals, like for my lunch and dinner. So I put together 2 veggies, 2 16-ounce veggie things, closed the covers, put them in my cooler. I said, what I'll do is, I figured the podcast would be like 9 to 10. So I figured I'll leave there at 10. I'll be at the grocery store by 10:15. I'll go in and do my grocery shopping, and then I'll have everything put away and I'll be ready for my 11:30 call. So the podcast went way over. You know me, right? Yak, yak, yak. You asked me questions. I got the answers, right? So, and then we had to do our goodbyes and everything with this woman that went on longer than I had planned. So now I pull up at the grocery store and it's like 11:05. And I said, I don't have time to do my grocery shopping. So I thought, what am I going to do for lunch? Because I was going to have lunch kind of in between the two calls, right? The 11:30 and the 12:30 calls. So I was like, what am I going to do? So this was my challenge, okay? This is how I figured it out. I said, I'm going in and I'm going to get a rotisserie chicken. Then I'll have cooked protein. So I went in and I started looking at the packages with the rotisserie chickens in them, and they had like, you know, marinades, and then another one had sugar. So I was like, I'm looking at it every one until I found one that all it said, that it just said that it was in a salt brine. That was it. So I was like, perfect. So I got that, went out to my van, put on my rubber gloves and skin and boned it. And then so I had all the meat in a container, ran out to the barrel to get rid of all the skin and bones so I didn't have that in my van, just in time for my 11:30 call. Well, it turns out that she wasn't showing up for the call. We usually do a Zoom call. And so I texted her. I was just like, what's going on? Where are you? She's like, oh, we changed our clocks here last weekend. I forgot all about that, how you didn't change your clocks yet. And I was just like, okay, bye for now. I'm like, I got an hour, right? It's like, I had an hour I didn't think I had. So I went in and I did my grocery shopping. And then I came out, and so I didn't need that rotisserie chicken after all. But you know, I could have made it work because I had those edamame. I had the roasted edamame. But I was all out of eggs, and I had those for breakfast. I would have had them for lunch too. I'd have them for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I wanted to. But I was just like, I just wanted chicken with my veggies, you know. So that's how I made it work. So you know, I just kind of pieced that day together, and then all my groceries were away, and I was all ready to, you know, go on. So you know, God gave me that hour that I needed, you know. But even if that didn't happen, I was ready for my call, and I had my protein already. So it's just like, that's just how important it is to me. Even if I had to like maybe text her and say I'm going to be 5 minutes late, even if I was going to be off 5, you know, just first things first, you know. But you know, other than that, you know, I mean, I know to prepare. I know to prepare because I'm not challenged as far as like I'm tempted, you know, with other people's food or anything like that. I just stay prepared, you know. We just happen to be at a spot that we have electricity, so I have my Instant Pot out here yesterday, doing a couple of batches of things. Today I brought it out, did a couple of batches of things. I got my electric toothbrush plugged in there. I just, you know, you get an outlet, and you're just like, oh, you know. And we have running water and everything. It's like we're living in luxury here in the dirt. So yeah, that's really what I got. You know, like I said, I'm so grateful that, you know, all these years later, that you know, little challenges come up, but nothing big, you know. And I've just kind of worked through all those big challenges, like my first time going to a restaurant, my first time socializing, my first time, you know, just, you know, doing different things and feeling challenged by the timing of things. But you know, I don't care if I'm going to a funeral, I'm going to time out my food properly, you know. And it's just what I do. And so yeah, so that's what I got. What about you, Nicole?
Thanks, Lulu. That was great. I sort of feel the same way. Like, I feel so fortunate that the challenges I have are not about the plan, or how to execute the plan anymore. I think I've just gotten really comfortable with it and ready to do a workaround at a moment's notice. So I did want to report out. Last week we were talking about socializing, and I mentioned that I had a work dinner, and I was planning on bringing my scale. And I picked the restaurant, and it was attached to the meeting hotel we were at, where the conference was. And so I felt super confident I could get what I needed. Otherwise, I would have. And what was really kind of neat is I decided to go into the restaurant, since it was attached, and just ask if there was any way possible that the chef could prepare something like this. And I just wrote out the 16 ounces of vegetables, and I put in parentheses, not squash, because, I saw squash was on their menu, and 4 ounces of rice and 4 ounces of salmon, and 1 tablespoon of oil on the whole thing, and absolutely no seasonings. And I said, and if this is a problem in any way, shape, or form, please just let me know. And they're like, no, we can totally do this. So I was super thrilled. And then the waitress, when we got seated and everything, the waitress came up to me and she's like, we just have a question for you. The chef is sure that this is a mistake, that this says 16 ounces of broccoli. And he thinks it's probably 6, right? And I said, no, it's 16. It's 16. And I was sitting next to my boss, and I was just like, oh. Anyway, everyone's food came, and then I thought it was broccolini, which I'm glad, because that seems a little more tender than. But the plate came, and I was hoping looks a little bit like less in the bowl, and I couldn't employ Kathleen's technique of bringing it in little. So here comes this plate of all this broccolini and, a little bit of rice and a little bit of salmon. And I just sort of chuckled, and I thought, I better start with this broccoli, just start the chewing now, because I'm going to have to keep chewing and just throw out a conversation point and just get busy, because I didn't want to be eating, a little bit longer than everybody. But it was wonderful. If it wouldn't have worked, I had my scale. I also had food in a cooler in the car, so I could just have a beverage and then eat my meal in peace, knowing this is the amount. And I was so happy to be able to do any one of those options. But the fact that the restaurant made it that way and weighed it, and I said, I have my scale right here, and I would like to weigh a plate. And she's like, we will do this with precision. I think she just knew that I meant business. Like, I didn't want any guesstimating. So I felt really tickled about the next day. We had another meeting, and my boss just happened to say to me, wow, I was really impressed with all it. And that you ate every bite. I'm like, oh yeah, well, the plan I do, I'm eating every single bite. So, but it just felt really good to just know what I wanted, not feel overly embarrassed or awkward about asking, having a plan if it didn't work out, for them to provide it. And it just kind of I felt really good about that. And yeah, I got some chuckles too, and some sideways eyes, like, wow, that's a lot of broccoli. So yeah, when I think about challenges, one thing the other thing I'll just say is, all day yesterday in this meeting, breakfast things were brought in, snacks were brought in. There was an interruption where we went out to a bigger meeting because the Minnesota Wild, there was an event and there was more snacks. And I just thought to myself, again, as I looked around and watched people in my group enjoying these things, how they are so different than me, because if I were my old way, I would be like, oh, look at all that. Oh, I want that. I got to go get me some of that. How can I tuck some of that away for later? Oh, there's leftovers. Let me put that in a container so I can have it at my desk. I mean, I just know, I just marvel at the difference and knowing myself, how obsessed I kind of was just with those are things I want to eat. And then my focus would just be, it wouldn't be on anything other than kind of unhealthy relationship with the food, right? So I just feel hanging on those, just noticing those successes. And then I mentioned to someone in our group on my way home. I stopped up yesterday from work to get some more veggies, and I treated myself to this gigantic toothbrush. I mean, it is so big, it's like sending your teeth through a car wash. I mean, the brush is so big. I'm like, I don't know if this can fit in there. And I was tickled, and it was kind of expensive for a toothbrush, but it's supposed to be good for the earth, and you just replace the heads and blah, blah, blah. And I just wanted to get it to celebrate that I buy things like this for myself now, not like bad foods, you know. And I didn't feel like I just felt like I didn't feel like I got through something hard, so I deserved a reward. I just felt like I'm going to get what's really good for me, these non-food, you know, treats, and treat myself well. So anyway, about challenges in general, I guess one of the things I would say when I started is my first fear when I started this plan. When I first saw Lulu's video, my fear was, what if I can't do that? What if I can't do what she's doing? What if I fail again? And how am I going to do that for the rest of my life? And all those dramatic things that, you know, a lot of us think about when we first hear of a plan or we first start. And I would just offer some encouragement, like, you just have to put one foot in front of the other. Like, don't think about, don't think about the next month, the next year, the next 5 years, the rest of your life. It's just one step in front of the other. And then as you do it, I found happening to me is I love it, and I wouldn't drop it for anything. So it just starts to kind of snowball, and you don't have to have it in your mind. I don't know if I can do this. I'll never be able to do this, because you just do it and you get going, and then the health benefits and the mental benefits come, and that is just like the hot air for the balloon to keep going. So I'm excited to hear what other people have to say, or if anyone's had success overcoming challenges or challenges. This is the place. So yeah, that's what I got.
That's great, Nicole. You did really good. So they had a scale right in the kitchen. How
They
about
weigh
that?
things in a kitchen. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how they portion things out for their own reasons, you know.
Right, and for recipes.
Yep,
right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What I noticed when you spoke was, I was thinking, you know, 2 years ago when you first started this, if you had to go up to somebody at the restaurant and ask them to do just that, you probably would have been horrified.
Yes.
So that's what you
That's
say.
right.
Like, you just take it day by day, because after a while, it's just so easy to just ask what initially might feel horrifying to have to ask, becomes just like, what's the big deal? I'm just going to ask, you know? And also, another thing that came to my mind when you spoke was when you talked about, like, sitting there with that big heap of broccoli, like this big, and how, like, maybe somebody would be embarrassed by that, like that would be embarrassing. Well, what's more embarrassing to me is what you were describing about just how you would have been with all that food in the past, and you would have been eyeballing it and looking over and going over 4 times. You would have been the overweight girl that can't stay away from the food table. Like, that's embarrassing, you know. And sitting there with a huge plate of broccoli is not embarrassing, you know, or asking for a nice big healthy meal, you know. It's not like you called the waitress over and said, you know, I just want to make sure I get extra cheese and extra butter, and I want to make sure everything's fried. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, and then you're sitting there like, you know, like morbidly obese asking for this stuff. Now that's kind of something to be embarrassed about, you know what I mean? So it's like, you just went in there as a woman that's just taking really good care of yourself, and you just asked for what you needed, and it seems like you just shook things up a little bit for them, and they liked the challenge, you know, of just doing something different for somebody and giving you just what you wanted, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you were just so lovely and wonderful when you were talking to them, and you were somebody that they really wanted to help. You weren't going to be like a difficult customer, you know. So they just probably really enjoyed that. I love that.
Yeah, I had even written on a note, like, I would be so grateful at the top. And if this doesn't work,
Yeah.
I have a plan B, so don't worry, you know.
Yeah.
And I like, give this to the chef and let me know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love it.
It made me really happy.
Yeah. I love it. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent, Nicole.
And we will start with Connie.
Hi, Connie.
There we go. Hello. I had just, it wasn't much of a challenge, but it would have been a challenge before. And I did figure out a way to handle it. My cousin who lives nearby is a single dad, and I help him out sometimes by picking his high school daughter up at practice and things like that. And I got a message from her the other night, can you pick me up at practice at 5:45, which is late. She's usually at home from practice a lot earlier than that. So my dinner time has been established as 5:30. And I'm like, okay, now that's not going to work. And so now in my head, I start going through, all right, just eat early. No, I don't want to eat early because I'm not going to eat after that meal again until tomorrow. So I don't want to eat early. I need to eat when I need to eat. I said, well, I'll eat home from pick you up. I said, well, I really don't want to do that because I'm doing so good. Stick it to my. So I finally worked out, heat it up, wrapped it in a dish towel, took it in the car with me and went 15 minutes early to pick her up and sat in the parking lot at the high school and ate my lunch, my dinner, while I was waiting for her to get out of practice. And I was like, okay, I did that. And what amazes me is it came to me quickly. First of all, I mean, a month ago, I'd have just said, whatever, I'll eat when I get home. I'll eat now and I'll eat, if I'm hungry. And I don't know what I want to say the magic pill is, but I know what the magic pill is. It's here. And I haven't even, maybe twice in this whole month that I've been really 100% doing my thing, even have a thought of not doing it, when normally I would always justify by saying, well, everybody who loses weight gains it back. You know the statistics, you're going to lose the weight, you're going to gain it back. Why bother? But what I say to myself now is, if all of these women can do this and do it so well, I do. And it didn't feel like that much of a challenge. It was just that little, like, okay, you need to find a way around this. And there's a way around it. Lulu found a way around not having her protein. Nicole found a way around. You just have to be creative. And I mean, mine wasn't very creative. Oh yeah, take it in the car. But that never would have occurred to me before. So that was my little way of facing the challenge I faced.
Yeah,
so.
No, that was very good. You thought it out, and it is a very high percent of the people that gain the weight back. I mean, it's probably 98%, probably 2% keep it off, and that's where we're all going to be. We're going to be in that 2%, because 2% is a lot of people. It's a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that lose weight. Millions.
And it's about mindset, and I think that's the one thing that I finally got wrapped my head around, my mindset, because of the other channel that I was following and saying I was doing this 30 days to change your life challenge, and chose this thing to be the thing to work on for 30 days. And just all that writing and work really helped me wrap my head around it. And I just feel like it's there now. Yeah. So.
Good. It just seems doable rather than something that's
right. And almost a year and a half of coming here and hearing how successful it can be and hearing how well people are doing. I think that has it took me a while to get there, but I'm there now. So I'm not going to worry about when I wasn't there. I'm just going to move forward from here. So
good. I'm so happy, Connie.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Connie. Next, we have Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, everybody. Shoulders coming along. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm therapy and everything's going well with that. Look, I have a question for Lulu, which is, can you describe your retirement party?
My retirement party?
When you retired?
When I retired?
Yeah, when you were working and you retired, did work hold a celebration for you when you're retired? Because I'm wondering how that went. Because I know I'm getting close, and they're going to want.
All right, so
I just want to.
All right, so for me, I mean, I happened to be. It was in the middle of COVID. They sent us all home to work from home, and then about 2 months later, they put out this thing where they were calling it voluntary separation incentive program. It was open to all staff, which was a couple of thousand people, saying if anybody wants to voluntarily separate from the firm, this is our incentive program, and this was like the severance you were going to get and the big package. And I was just like, sign me up, right? And so yeah, there was no retirement party, but I know that what my company did, you could pick either a retirement party or a gift, or like maybe cash or something. I don't know. But if it was a retirement party for me, I would just go to it, and I would just take my own food.
Okay.
Or if it was like an afternoon thing, like a kind of a, maybe not a meal, but maybe it was kind of like a appetizers and stuff. Yeah, I would just be there. I would just be there. Yeah. Why?
Okay.
Are you retiring and having a retirement party?
Well, I'm thinking about retiring sometime next year, and I know they're going to want to do something, and so I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, because they will feel uncomfortable because they know how I eat, and they're going to be like, oh, what should we do? You know, la la la. So I just wanted to.
Do you want a party? Do you want a party?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I want a party.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't need the food, but
Yeah.
I do want people.
Yeah.
And
well, that's all you have to say. You just say they want to have a party for you, and you just say, I would love a party. I would love to be with all these people for a party. But you know what I do with the food, and I'll just bring my own food. And if they say like, oh, we can make sure there's this and that and whatever, and you know, if you want to, if you believe that you can trust it, and that something will be there for you, but you could just tell them it really doesn't matter, because it really doesn't matter. Because whatever you bring for yourself
Right.
is probably going to be more delicious, because we cook just, when you're cooking for yourself, you cook exactly what you like, how you like it. Like, this is how I like my broccoli cooked, so when I have broccoli, it's cooked exactly the way I like it. It's not too firm, it's not too mushy, and you know, when other people are cooking it, you don't know what you're going to get, you know. So if you which one do you think you'd be more comfortable with? Just saying that you'd like to bring your own, or having them?
I think I would bring my own.
Yeah.
I would bring my own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're used to that anyways, you know, like whenever we have like Thanksgiving or Christmas, I just bring my own, and I, you know, socialize and just sit with everybody, and we all eat together.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, because they're going to want to do something. And so I just was wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, like we really can't be figuring out how to make other people comfortable, you know, because if they're uncomfortable with it, it's like you can only say so much, because there's really should be nothing uncomfortable about it at all. It's like you are doing something for me.
Yeah, I want to give them permission to junk food. Do you know what I mean? That's what they're going to feel uncomfortable about. Like, oh yeah, well, let's make her a part of it. Oh, should we bring this? Should we? You know?
Oh, you mean like, because they're going to have junk food? Yeah, you mean? Because you think they'll be uncomfortable.
Food, I'm not going to eat it, but you guys are going to be there, and you're going to want to eat it. So bring it. It's a celebration.
Yeah. Oh, did I hear you say because it would be like junk food?
Yeah.
Okay.
Parties,
so it's kind of like, oh, you're eating healthy and they're not eating healthy, that they're going to be uncomfortable. Is that what that's what you're saying?
No, they would be uncomfortable because they know how I eat, and they would wonder, oh, maybe we should, like, are we going to get her a cake? Should we get her? Should we
absolutely get a cake? Absolutely.
All that stuff. They're going to wonder and be uncomfortable thinking about it. So I don't want that to happen. I want to just give them, go for it, but don't be surprised if I don't eat it. I won't eat it, but I'd love to have this celebration.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you just make it very clear. I would love all of the guests at my retirement party to have cake. And I would love all the guests at my party to have cocktails and a meal that's fit for a queen, right? And then you just make it really comfortable for them to say, like, you know me by now, that, like, I'm coming to this party. It has nothing to do with food, but I want everybody else to really enjoy the food. And I'm really looking forward to this party, and thank you for having it for me. It's like, you know what I mean? And they'll all just be happy eating the food themselves.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be happy eating the food themselves. Yeah. But
and if it's at a restaurant, you can maybe pick it and do the technique I just told you. If it's not at your company.
If that's an option, right? That would be great, because then I can order. Do what you.
Yeah.
Great idea.
And you can even do it ahead of time. You could do it ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could call them up, because I've called up restaurants before, having things.
I've done it too.
Yeah.
And there's a few restaurants in the area that I'm comfortable with. I don't go often, a couple times a year, and I've had really good meals there. So
Can you? Will they have you pick the restaurant? Are they going to have it catered?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
When the subject comes up, then I will, see where they're thinking.
Yeah.
What they're thinking.
Oh, good. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. It's scary though, but I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're ready, you're ready.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Well, it's
Liz.
really good to be thinking about it in advance.
Yep.
But I think, you'll have plenty, and I think giving them a few options that all work for you, It's sort of like when someone wants to have a birthday party for you, and birthday parties usually mean cake and whatever. It's like, that'd be great. And then, you just don't have to eat it, but everyone who comes to the party wants it. So,
because there's actually people that have a birthday, and they're at their birthday party, and they're having a birthday dinner, and then the cake gets cut, and they're too full, and they don't want the cake. It doesn't mean anything. It just means I know it's I know it's strange. I know it's strange, but there are people that say no, thank you, not because they're on a food plan. They just say no, thank you because they're full, and nobody would ever say to that person, "My God, it's your birthday cake, and you're not having a piece. You just said you were full." Like, they don't want it. They don't want it, And it's like, it's okay to not want it for whatever reason,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good, Liz. You're on it. You're on it.
Next we have Bridget.
Hey, Bridget.
Hi there. So I've been thinking about this for a little bit now that I'm feeling much better and getting closer to the goal. It's my time management. And so if I don't manage that time in between my meals in such a way, my meals will kind of tend to lag and get later. And I'm working on thinking about the different foods that I eat and what gives me more of a full feeling, I guess. So like breakfast, my go-to is the rice cakes and peanut butter and my fruit. But I notice that fills me up for a longer period of time. And so subconsciously, or I've been deciding that if I know I've got some running around to do, I'll eat that breakfast for certain, because then if I'm doing my errands or whatever and the day gets later, I'm not feeling as hungry, when I'm out and about. And then that lunch meal later, I'm checking myself and trying not to spiral, because I like the structure. I try not to stress myself. That's really been the time management has been. And then I was going through the lies we tell ourselves. And so it's kind of like rolling into a new challenge for me now, where I'm very near to my weight, and I've gone through 2 cycles of new clothing and used clothing, which I prefer. And then I look at this list with my time management where I'm feeling hungry because I'm kind of off track. The one that is, I'm not as big as I used to be. And I know that over the years, when I would start feeling good, working out, losing the weight, feeling better about myself, I'd say, well, I'm not as big as I used to be. So maybe I can go off track a little bit, not necessarily like off plan, but just kind of start being lax, I guess you could say. And then it just kind of spirals me out, and I have to just check myself and say, there's a lot of work been done. There's a new wardrobe of clothes that I invested in. I'm feeling so much better. And so now it's just kind of like, I'll just sit with myself and say, okay, look, let's work on time management. So there's like a couple of things that are rolling in together. Earlier on, I had a challenge of just, I guess, missing the foods that I used to eat. So I was able to nip that in the bud real quick. And I would eat my meal first before I cooked my husband's meal, and then I wasn't hungry. So whatever I was making for him, it didn't faze me because I was full and satisfied. And that little tip still holds true for me now. I always make sure I eat first, and then I feed him and my dog. I'm like, because then it spirals me out, and then I start thinking, and I'm like, oh, but maybe if I have a little bit of that, or not all the vegetables, and then in between, then I get hungry at night late. I'm feeling hungry if I didn't eat like my full meal because it was carried too late. So that's my goal for like this phase, and going into maintenance pretty soon, is just really sitting with it and managing the time. My food prep's been pretty good. I've run low on a few things, but I have backups and alternate options in the meantime. And luckily I don't have any pressure from my family at all. As a matter of fact, they've been loving my meals. So now I weigh mine out, I cook mine, and then I make those same meals for them. I bring my daughter, pots of beans, Nicole, your recipe, and just camping, I'm making everybody what I eat for breakfast. But I'm like, I got to eat first, and then I'll, so it's just been different challenges. So I'm just wondering if anyone else has changed, what could be a challenge for them, as time goes by. Like I said, those are my new challenges coming up, getting close and falling back into that cycle of, you got some wiggle room now. So maybe if
you just always have to remember, Bridget, how that's worked out for you in the past.
Yeah.
When you're at this point and you're going to give yourself a little wiggle room, and what happens. I know what happens for me. So it's kind of like, this is like, you've lost weight before, but you're about to enter into something that you've never done before. But I think that you've seen it enough that you know that it's crucial. It's like, if you want to keep what you have, you got to keep doing what you do. You just have to. Yeah. Because no more lies, right?
It can get you. I mean, as good as I've been feeling, I mean, it could just happen that quickly. Falling in. So that's why I kind of sit myself and check in and say, okay. And sometimes I'll talk to myself out loud, but other times I'll just kind of sit quietly. I'm like, what on earth, girl? You need to get back on, back on track with your time management.
And I
want to go down that road again. It's been, 30 years of this roller coaster, just up and down. And I'm like, I don't want to spend the next, 30 years of my life doing the same thing again.
I know. and starting all over again and getting
it's not
new
like scary, but it's intimidating. Like, wow, this
Yeah.
is like literally a new chapter.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a new chapter. Yeah, and you don't want to be going out and getting those clothes, those other size clothes again, going back up. You know, how many times have we done that? You know,
Yeah.
having to get bigger clothes and then bigger clothes and then bigger clothes, and just thinking like I'll start tomorrow, and then it's just a bunch of, it's hard. It's a hard life. This is a easier life. It's much easier.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest, if it's like, you're out doing errands, before you leave the house, just bring your lunch with you.
Mm-hmm.
Even I find myself, I will bring my lunch with me places, and then a lot of times I don't even eat it. I'll eat it when I get home, but it's kind of like a just in case,
Yeah, and like with the season changing, this is the first time that I can ever remember, like following the season as far as eating. So all summer, easy. I made all my, chopped vegetable salads. I had, the ice packs in my little tote that I take with me. Camping, we have my husband and I have 2 refrigerators, one for my, for my food and one for his drinks or whatever. So I'm covered. But the fall is what's kind of tripping me up too a little bit, because I'm finding that I like the warmer foods that take more preparation. And so kind of like adjusting to that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I've been making the squash and, like the chili and the soups and the warm food. So for me, that's a little bit more planning that I have to readjust to. This, chopping up the vegetables is real easy in cold food, but this, I like it a little bit, I like the foods warmer, in the wintertime. So
yeah.
And
you
definitely have to get into that.
Yeah, and you can also get one of the Hot Logics, those Hot Logic things, put a hot meal together, plug it into your car while you're out doing errands.
That's a good idea, because I do have one. I keep it in my camper. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that if you want a hot meal while you're out, and and then could be that you get home just in time, and you can enjoy the meal at home, or you might have it on the road.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's really it's wonderful that you're recognizing that you're having these thoughts and these ideas, and then you're just kind of thinking about those lies we tell ourselves, and going to that list and just being like, I can't do this, I can't. You just can't lie to yourself anymore. It's just like for me, it feels like I feel so certain that I can't lie to myself. I'm not certain that I'll never fall off the wagon, because I'm human like everybody else, and I don't think I will, but you never know, right?
Yeah.
But I know that I can never lie to myself again. What I will say is, I am going to eat this, and I'm going to be in hell. I'm going to live in hell. It's going to be a holy hell.
Yeah.
Okay? That's going to, and I'm going to choose it. Like, I have to choose what I'm really choosing.
A lot of years with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be really clear on what I'm choosing. I am going to give up my peace and my freedom, and I'm going to go back into friggin' bondage and friggin' cray, and I don't want to pick that.
Yeah.
It's
interesting. Obviously, people, everyone here has different reasons and for the choices that they make, etc. And timing plays a big role for people, I imagine. I'm grateful for the time that I have available in my day to be able to prepare my foods.
Yeah.
So that does make it a little bit easier for me. If I'm choosing to make it easier, because I could still be doing something else. But I think I'm where I'm at is that I really don't want to lie to myself about it anymore, because the more I feel it, the less everything on the outer circumstances, peer pressure, whatever, isn't going to matter to me as much, because I know in my heart, my core, that I'm doing this for me, because no one but me is going to be going to the doctor and looking at those numbers.
Right.
those are my numbers. They're not anybody else's numbers. And, and so the more I'm feeling comfortable and kind of understanding myself and the reasons why I make the choices I do, the easier it is. But then there's always going to be that challenge, which I think can be helpful because you continue to learn more about yourself and you kind of stay on your toes a bit more.
Right.
You don't get, so I don't get lax. Is how I look at the challenges and I'm like, okay, what do I need to work?
Yeah.
That this situation is challenging me. You know.
Yeah, and you just got to keep focused on the gift that you have. Like you have a huge gift right now.
Yeah.
That you've lost all that weight and that you're very close to your goal. You
3 pounds.
Yeah, you've got a big ass gift right now. Another idea is a thermos. Get one of those big wide mouth thermoses. You could put chili in that, your hot meals, soups and stuff like that.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can definitely
heat it before you leave the house, put it in the thermos, throw it in the car,
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah, see, these are good. Thank you, because I haven't come across this challenge yet. This is like my first. Last year was kind of, it didn't seem to be as challenging, but I think after having the cold foods pretty much all summer to switch to the hot. So now I, like I said earlier, I just have to readjust. So thermos definitely, and the hot logic would definitely be helpful. So thank you.
Then when you're out doing your errands, you can enjoy what you're doing. And not thinking about not watching the clock and thinking, is the timing going to work out and all that. Just, you don't have to steal from your joy of that moment and just enjoy doing your errands because. And
I get hangry. I'm one of those people. I get hangry and irritable, and I'm like, I don't even like that feeling. There's no reason. It's just, managing better. So, that would be my biggest challenge so far. So thank you.
Good. Well, very good self-awareness, and solution-based. It sounds like you're very staying solution-based. Good, Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bridget. Very exciting.
Yes, very exciting.
Next, we have Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
Hello. I didn't want to confess to having challenges or struggles, so I figured that was probably meaning that I needed to raise my hand and say something.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's frustrating and embarrassing and annoying, and it seems to me that whenever I do really well, like I did really well last month, then the next month is hard and just like a constant struggle. And I'm not sure where that's coming from. I actually talked to my therapist about it. I'm like, can you help me figure out why I seem to self-sabotage? I've done a really good job of staying away. Anything with sugar, like that's just an automatic no. But I'm still just shocked by the pull of some of the more savory, fatty, like things like chips that I never would have said that was my thing. I would have said it was sweet things. And that has been not really any problem at all. I have Halloween candy I'm looking at right now that is not calling to me in any way. It's for my kids. And so I'm frustrated with that. I can agree with Bridget that I get busy, and even though I have my food, I don't have a meal put together, and so then I end up eating late, and then that just seems to throw off the whole rest, like especially for like lunch. If I eat lunch late, and it makes it harder to say no. And we have a place really close by that does these amazing bowls, very healthy, but it's not weighed, but it's, nothing that's off plan in the types of food, let's say. And so I actually they have an app, and I took it off my phone because I was like, I can't even have this. Yes, I could still manage to order from them, but it's no longer just right here. And I actually just in the past couple weeks took social media off my phone. And so I'm just a mess. I'm a mess of I don't even know what to do with myself. And then I think those were the major things that I wanted to say. I'm fully expecting that I will not have lost weight this month, that I will have gone up slightly. And we'll see what happens. But I still find challenges, and they're not things that I was expecting that I would find, but I also refuse to give up because I will not go back. I'm pre-diabetic. I refuse to let that go further. So I think in some ways my strength right now is that I'm just refusing to give up. I refuse. I can't do that again. Anyway, so that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you for your honesty, Nicole. And it's unfortunate that you're struggling, because that sucks. Sucky place to be. But it really reminds me of the same situation as Bridget, except when Bridget, it's not happening month to month like you said. It's happening. You have a good month and a bad month. She's having her like a weight loss, but now these thoughts come in. But you know, you just heard how she was processing them and thinking, okay, my issue is time management. You know, you got to figure out what your issue is. It's because it's not because you're hungry. You need to have chips
because I'm hungry, but when I go to those things, that's not because I'm hungry.
Right. Nobody says I'm starving, I'm going to have some chips. You know, it's not what you have.
Well, and I'm not like I'm hungry, I'm going to go have some carrots.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So
well, and it's the peanut butter. I mean, like I thought I had fooled myself because I got unsalted peanut butter. You can get used to that too.
Oh yeah.
So like okay,
just sit down with a jar of peanut butter and a spoon. You don't need one. You don't need one other thing.
Yesterday the peanut butter got finished, and I was like, okay, I can't buy anymore. I just can't.
There are people on this food plan that, well, right now I'm off the peanut butter.
Yeah.
I just made that choice for myself, and I'm not saying I'm never going to have it again.
Right.
And it will just be, why am I always choosing that? Why do I always want that? And it's like, I don't want a friggin' peanut to own me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to own my thoughts and my like I'm drooling over it. You know what I mean? It's just like for me, it's better off out. But if you feel like that's what's sabotaging you, the same way, I find it interesting that you don't go to the sugar. I'm wondering if perhaps I'm wondering if perhaps that you feel like you're hanging on, and if you have the sugar, you're off the cliff. You're off the cliff. So
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I can easily eat an entire, box of whatever, or an entire bag of candy, and somehow I think because I started with the sugar, so like I took added sugar out of my diet in January of 2024, and I did like 8 months pretty much very little to no sugar, and then I kind of got off of that in the holidays last year, and then in January again this year, that was kind of the first thing I went back to, and then I started doing your plan in April this year. And so in some ways the sugar has just been a longer journey. Like I'm more accustomed to it.
Or maybe you're afraid. Do you think you might be afraid of it because of the pre-diabetic situation?
No, because that's recent.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's more recent that I got that information.
Yeah.
But I just, I mean, I know sugar is toxic and not good for me and makes me feel like crap, and I feel better when I don't have it. So, but I know that about the other stuff too.
The other stuff too. I feel like,
has been longer. So I was like, maybe I'm just more like, this is the way it is what I'm doing, whereas the rest is newer.
Yeah. So when you are following it, are you following it like 100%, like 100%?
The plan?
Yeah.
Not this month.
Okay. No, but the month before you were 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Because for me, like having like one extra green bean or an extra 0.2 of an ounce of chicken instead of putting the instead of putting the 4 ounces, you put 4.2, and you're like, oh, whatever. If you're getting a little sloppy like that, to me, I might as well just have a bag of chips because it feels the same. For me, it just feels the same because that's why I just say, like, I don't know, I always say to people, like, in what Nicole reads at the beginning of the meeting, figure out what works for you and do it your way. So it doesn't have to be this plan, but it has to be a plan.
Right.
You have to have a plan that you're following 100%. So you really know when you've strayed from it, whether it's, because a little bit more chicken ends up in the potato chips.
Right.
That's my take on it. Like, it's like what seems to be very innocent, this innocent little fudging and maybe being a little bit sloppy with your measurements. That's what leads, because there's just nothing like the feeling at the end of the day when you've just done exactly what you said you were going to do, what you want to do. If it's this plan, if that's what you want to do, this plan, and how it's laid out, and how many ounces of each thing works for you, like, let that be your life, and just put it first, And I mean, I don't know.
And I would add too about choosing your hard.
Yeah. Go over that again, Nicole.
I would think about, this is really hard to resist or whatever. I just would remind myself how hard it is to continually let myself off the hook, have, what I mean? Mm-hmm. All the plans, the diets before, and just say, okay, well, I'll start over. I'll get this out of the way and start over again. Like, that was so hard, and it's just a brief period of time, but it's really important time where you just do not let yourself go there, because you love yourself, and because it's like you're fostering that inner part of you, like you want something better for yourself. And yes, it's hard. It won't always be this hard, but it is hard when you have a pattern, I think, of getting on and off. Or maybe, like you said, month to month, back and forth. Yeah. It's almost like your mind is like, oh no, I just had a good month. What does this mean now? It sort of sets up this routine, and that's hard. And if you could just break through it, like grip onto all of us and yourself and get through it. Yeah. And then never forget how hard it is to do that. That's what I just really hope for you, because what you're saying right now is so hard. And I know it's hard on you to go through this every month.
Also, you have to think, like, you just spent a whole month in a struggle. Like, you didn't want to choose that. You didn't choose that. I'm assuming each day you were thinking, this is going to be the day. Every day you were probably trying.
Oh yeah,
and that's
I do great for breakfast, and a lot of times I do good for lunch, and then it's like,
well, the first time that you decide that you're going to have something that's not on plan, just know the truth. Just like I said, I can't lie to myself anymore and say, I'm going to eat this and I'll be fine. I'm going to eat this and I'm going to be in hell. That's my truth, and I know it. So, when you're about to reach for something that's not on your plan, you just have a chat with yourself, just the way that Bridget was talking about how, like, I had a little chat with myself, like, what's going on here? I think it's my time management, or you might say, if it's your time management, then, maybe you got to consider some of the things that, that Bridget talked to us about and stuff, right? If that's what it is. If it's just caving into something that you want to have, just say, well, do I want to have another month of hell where I'm trying and failing, and I could keep going and say it 30 times for a month.
Yeah.
and I could go on, and you'd be like, wow, that's what I chose. If we could if we could choose just to do it once, and it would be cool. It just doesn't work that way, Nicole. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. It's not going to work that way. It doesn't work that way for me, and I'm assuming it's not going to work for you.
But I guess I just need to talk to myself a little bit more.
Yeah, start talking to yourself. Get a little kooky, you know, and just
T-shirt that says "I am aware I'm a weirdo." So I mean, I'm aware.
There you go. Yeah, have a good chat with yourself and just say, "What am I about to do again?"
Yeah.
And I'm expecting it to be different. I'm going to undo everything I've done this month, and I'm going to be getting further and further away from my goals and dreams and aspirations instead of closer to it. I don't want to get further away. I want to get closer to it. You don't want to be pre-diabetic anymore. You want to be zero diabetic. You know? You don't want to have weight to lose. You want to be at your goal weight and just feel really, really good. And you want to take really good care of yourself. All that stuff is it's just amazing stuff, and and it's not always easy. So when it feels hard, you're not in isolation. Look, we're all doing it.
It's so helpful to come, and that's why I guess I need to speak up because I'm feeling like I don't want to, and so that means that
I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did, and let's start fresh. Let's start fresh again.
And I don't get to come meet you, Lulu, and I'm still so bummed about that.
Oh, I was looking forward to seeing you in Quartzsite. Oh well.
There'll be another time.
There'll be another time. You'll have to drive to Florida.
I will. I've traveled to Florida twice on the train, so there's no reason that.
There you go.
I can do it again.
Good. Okay, thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. We're rooting for you.
Yes.
Hey.
Next, we have Janice.
Hi, Janice.
Hi. I was going to say that I can identify. My first challenge was going to be what Nicole brought up, but then as I was waiting, I thought, no, it's more a matter of the 16 ounces times 2. And when I was listening to Barbara, it kind of solidified. It's like, oh, maybe that's part of the problem, because I thought it was like choices and always having it prepared. But the seasonal thing is a reality that I'm realizing, oh yeah, if I would have cooked broccoli or whatever warmed, it would usually be a topper off of salad and all cold, not cold because I don't like my salads cold, but all raw and salad kind of food. Now I'm thinking, oh, but I really want like warm stuff, and it's kind of freaking me out because like, how do I keep 16 or 32 ounces of warm stuff, throughout the day, like ready every day? Because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm okay with breakfast. I've got that covered. And I'm okay with prepped carbs and prepped protein. But it's this realization that, oh, it's a new unfolding. It's a new look. And I saw, funny, because I also thought maybe it's a variety thing with me, like, but then I saw a video, Lulu, that you shared, having made, you were showing us how you made tofu and eggplant, and it was your lunch, and you ate that. And I thought, why do I have to have so many different vegetables? She just ate tofu. And so it's like, oh, that's an option too. I don't have, if I'm making something warm, I only need one vegetable selection. So somebody else in the group here, Stacy, knows that, and it kind of relates to what Nicole was saying, with, you have one good week, one good month, and then you're sort of, it's difficult. I've always looked at that in terms of, I'm I'm sort of like I'm great for one Christmas, and then it's like, oh, again, it's around. So I always thought I function on like a 2-year cycle. So I was going to say, oh, maybe I function on a 2-month cycle. And then I kind of it's harder, as you go into that second month. But I think, from what I've been witnessing with myself, the peeling of the onion, and going through all these challenges, if we don't look at them and we don't accept that they're ours, they may not be, somebody else's challenge. They may not be tripped up by these things, but they're the things that trip me up. And if I don't process them and I don't talk them through and I don't think of ideas or I don't find ways, they're going to remain at that level. So I've got to process. I've got to say what the problems are, and I don't always like what people come up with suggestions, but it's an option. So I don't know, that's how, I sort of felt this evening, like that's where I'm at. And the onion part, peeling the layers of getting through, it's like, yeah, it's really tough because you lied all these years and you found ways to work around it. Now it's like slapping us, straight in the face, and we have to look and deal with it and find. I'll go back to what Gail said. Victories. No, she didn't use victories. What did she? Breakthroughs. Breakthroughs.
Good. Sounds like you have some self-awareness going on there. You're really paying attention to, what's bothering me, what's the problem, and what's the solution. Like what you said about the veggies, And you can eat salads in the winter. Everyone eats salads all winter. So it doesn't have to be cooked veggies for lunch and dinner, Still enjoy nice raw. I usually do cooked at one meal and the salad in another meal. That's how I generally do it. Sometimes I'll do 2 salads. Sometimes I'll do 2 cooked. But typically it's one and one of each. I find that I put in, this morning I put in 2 bunches of asparagus in the Instant Pot. Cooked those up, had them cooling. Then I put in 4 zucchinis with all kinds of seasonings in the Instant Pot. Did those, cooked those to perfection. Put those in there cooling. And then I did, a 2-pound bag of baby carrots. Now I got that. Now, if I only had time to do one, then I would have had 16 ounces of asparagus, or 16 ounces of zucchini, or 16 ounces of carrots. But since I had all 3, I took a little bit of each. And then I'll have them mixed for the next few days. Then, this afternoon, now I have plenty of cooked veggies. I don't want to cook anymore because I don't want to be that much ahead. But I have 2 rutabagas. So I was just sitting out here at the picnic table. Luann was cooking her lunch, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do, because it's kind of time consuming, is peeling those rutabagas. They're kind of tricky, because they're so hard and big. So I just got my cutting board and my knife and the rutabagas, and I was just out there and trying to get all the skin off them because they're hard as a rock. Cubed it all up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and put that in my cooler. I'm always just want to just stay ahead of it, because I know that when it's time to put that in the Instant Pot, say maybe 2 days from now, I'll just take that zip bag and just dump it in, So it's I know 32 ounces a day is a lot, but it's just in the preparation, I don't want to make them too far ahead, and I don't want to get behind. I always have my cans just in case. The cans of the only really 3 canned veggies I like are artichoke hearts, hearts of parm, and beets. other than that, I'm not really crazy about the canned ones. Then there's always frozen, because frozen veggies are not that bad, you know? I mean, nothing compares to fresh, but, you know, I know a woman that's on this food plan, and she has her hand, she's got one hand that's has very little use in this hand. Like, she has to kind of pick it up to put it here. You know, she really can't be grabbing things and doing things. So slicing and dicing for her is really kind of a problem. But she really wants to be on this food plan. So she does all frozen. I mean, very occasionally she'll have some fresh if somebody's would chop it for her, if you know, if it works out, you know. But she just has her favorite veggies, frozen veggies. They're at Costco, and they're called, I forget the mix she called it. There's a certain, I'd recognize the name if I heard it. And she gets the 5-pound bags. So when she goes to Costco, she gets like 10 of them. Stocks up the whole freezer. And you know, each bag is 5 meals. So, and she loves them. She loves it. It's a combination of veggies, and I forget the combination and I forget the name of it, but I'd recognize it if I saw it, and it's at Costco. So, you know, people just do what they got to do. If you want it bad enough. And to me, it's like, if it feels overwhelming to be thinking about 32 ounces of cooked veggies every day, then just have a salad for one of them, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us, Janice.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, next we have Cynthia.
Hey, Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be here again. Just real quick, I wanted to share about, in regards to challenges, what everybody's been talking about tonight, mindfulness and self-awareness. And one of the tools that I use to help me when I have challenges, if I'm having a difficult day and I'm getting off my program, is number one is journaling, and second of all is logging. And I will think through my day, and I will actually write out what I'm going to have for each meal. That way I'm not looking to the right, looking to the left, thinking, oh, you know, like you've said in the past, Lulu, you know, we can overeat the good stuff,
Right.
You know, so I just wanted to share that, especially for Nicole that shared. She might want to journal her feelings, you know, kind of write it out. Try to get to the core of what's causing you to turn to the food and turn away from your program. So journaling and logging your food has helped me tremendously, and that's all I wanted to share.
And that's also that. Thank you, Cynthia. That's great advice. And also, if you sit down at the beginning of the day and write down everything that you're going to have, make sure you have it in the house. Make sure that it's ready, and then you've got a plan that you can kind of count on, and
yes,
and you can say, like, well, it's not because I didn't have something in, and because you've already kind of did that little checkpoint at the beginning. Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and that way the chips, it's harder for the chips to call your name because you're looking at your program for the day and the chips are not on there. So
right.
Chips are not going to get me.
Yeah. You just have to have
Thank you.
You just have to have that plan and just have it be the most important thing. It just has to be the most important thing. You know.
Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks so much, Cynthia.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
We got one more.
Yep. Next we have Stace.
Hi, Stace.
Yeah, and it's gonna be super quick too. So basically, I'm so grateful for everybody and the people that share their challenges, because it's helpful. It's helpful to hear when the struggles are happening, and I'm just sending good vibes and positive energy to people that have a very heavy load right now. So that's first. Secondly, as somebody who also can get overwhelmed by the amount of vegetables, even as a vegan who eats a ton of vegetables, I have found that if I just add some hot vegetables to my salad, it changes the whole energy of the salad. So just having like a, you can fajita some like peppers and onions and weigh those, and then have your weighed salad and then throw them on top and mix it in with whatever your protein is. And it just changes the dynamic of it. And the same thing if you air fry some broccoli, like heavier things. If you throw some, I just got delicata squash. I'm going to try it because I haven't had it before, shockingly. But I was thinking if you take that and you roast that and then you throw it on top of a salad, it just makes it feel more fallish. And then I think like adding certain like seasonal, anything that feels seasonal to it, whether it's cold or warm, helps. So that's all I wanted to offer with the struggle with, can mix it up, have some fun.
Thanks, Stace. Yeah, I like to put cooked veggies in my salads. Yesterday I had usually cooked cold. I do cooked and chilled, and then I put it in salads. Delicata squash, I had a few slices of that left over because I had a little teeny bit left over from the meal before, and I was like, I'll chop that in my salad. Feels like there's avocado in there. It has that creamy texture. But yeah, cooked cold broccoli in a salad, all tossed through a salad is good. And also sometimes a salad can be overwhelming with the size because of it's the lettuce. If you leave the lettuce out and you just do it, it's called a chopped salad, and it's just like all chopped up stuff. You'll be surprised how small it is when it's 16 ounces. It's not a huge salad like it is with the lettuce. Of course, I like it to be huge, so my salad looks like it belongs in the middle of the table for a family.
Say one other quick thing when you said that was, I also love zucchini, because zucchini raw weighs a lot too, and you can put on it, tomatoes that are warm and make like a spaghetti, ish vibe. You can sliver it and then make a lasagna layer of veggies with warm, and you don't even have to cook the zucchini. I prefer it completely raw and not even warmed up because the warm stuff warms it up. So there's a lot of and now I'm making notes of it's so hot in LA right now though, so I'm not even thinking fall, but I will be. Yeah. So this reminds me of some of those fall deliciousness too. So
good. Thanks, Stace.
Thanks, Stace.